The dirty deed has been done. Liberalism has now triumphed. We are now witnessing the passage of the $787 billion stimulus package. If you include the interest rates on that, most economists believe it will be way over $1 trillion. What we are now seeing, Michael, is really the high tide of American liberalism. Many Democrats that I speak to on Capitol Hill are now openly jubilant. They believe that this stimulus package represents a great victory for what the Democrats have been fighting for the last several decades. It has everything in this package to satisfy Democratic special interest groups. And the question that conservatives have to ask themselves is this. To the Democrats that I am talking to on the Hill, Michael, they believe that this is just the beginning. They now see themselves pushing ahead to do other things that they believe will cement the liberal revolution. They are talking about giving amnesty to illegal immigrants, passing the fairness doctrine, which will in effect muzzle conservative talk radio, and in particular is directed at people like you and their leading critics. They are now looking to pass massive tax increases over the next several years, corporations, income, even try to raise payroll taxes. In other words, Michael, the liberals are now completing what they started with the New Deal in the 1930s. And the point that I want to stress to you, Michael, and to all of your listeners out there, is that the New Deal failed to engender economic recovery. It failed to end the Great Depression. That almost all economists now agree on. And just as the New Deal failed, this stimulus package will fail. But what the New Deal succeeded in doing is that the New Deal launched a liberal revolution. It brought to power liberal elites whose aim and goal for the last 70 years has been to transform America into a European socialist state. They want to wage war on the family, the nation state, and Judeo-Christian morality. They want to destroy all of the major institutions that made America great. And now they believe they are in the saddle. They control the media, the federal bureaucracies, television, the universities, the arts. In other words, they control all of the leading organs of political, economic, and cultural power. And now they control the biggest prize of them all. They control both houses of Congress, and they have the White House. What we have seen now in this country is exactly what happened to Argentina literally 50 years ago. As I mentioned last week, Argentina from 1880 until the 1930s was an economic powerhouse. People came to Argentina just as they came to America. Immigrants from all over the world. It was considered the land of opportunity. Well, within 10 to 15 years, Argentina was destroyed. A strong man by the name of Juan Perón led a leftist revolution where he came to power along with his famous wife, Evita Perón, and with a fawning media class. Piece by piece, Juan Perón did exactly what the Democrats are doing now. He passed massive government spending programs. He drove Argentina's national debt through the roof, imposed trade protectionism, huge tariffs, huge taxes. Slowly but surely, they undermined the judiciary. And most importantly, Michael, Juan Perón and Evita Perón began to nationalize key sectors of Argentina. And here's what we are now facing. The Democrats, because of the failure of Republicans before them and George Bush, now see in front of them the prospect of nationalizing our banks, our automakers, our insurance companies, our healthcare. In other words, sector by sector, piece by piece, we will be run by the government. And this road has been tried before, and it is the road to hell. It is the road to disaster and ruin. Michael, the point that I want to stress to all of your listeners, America is down to the count of 4. We have been knocked down. We are now facing a liberal juggernaut. And this juggernaut is now going to push us into a future that is Argentina and also eventually Europe. You will see anemic economic growth, permanently high unemployment, deficits for the years to come. We will be burying the next generation in debt. And slowly but surely, Michael, you will see a sustained war on the traditional family and of all the fundamental values of America. In other words, we will become like Sweden or France. We will become a country that no longer has free-born citizens. We will have lost our fundamental freedoms. Our founding fathers must be turning in their grave. And Michael, I just really want to say this to you and to your listeners. I am originally from Canada, and the reason why I came to America is because of Ronald Reagan. I remember my grandfather, God bless him, was born in his native Croatia. And after the Second World War, which was a republic of Yugoslavia at the time, the Red Army swept across Eastern Europe like locusts. And they came to Croatia. And they did in Croatia what they did all across Yugoslavia and all across Eastern Europe. They murdered, they pillaged, and they plundered. My grandfather was a poor peasant. He had a small land and a small farm. And for that crime, they put him and his wife into a concentration camp. And they murdered most of his family. And he managed to survive, and he got out. And he came to Canada because the United States wouldn't take him. And this is why I say to all the illegal immigrants out there, I know you want to come to this country. My grandfather wanted to come to this country. But they weren't taking immigrants in the 1950s from Eastern Europe. Did he come in across your borders illegally? No. He went to a country that took him, and that was Canada. But he couldn't take the Canadian winters, so he eventually moved to Brazil to retire. But I remember I would visit him all the time, and he loved Ronald Reagan. And he said, finally, there is a man in the White House who understands the evil of communism, but more importantly, who understands the greatness and what is special and unique about America, that it is the land of the free, that it is a land of limited government, that it is a land that doesn't punish you with taxes, that it is a land that gives you opportunities that you cannot have in any other country, in any other civilization in the world. And he said, Reagan is America. And I remember, Michael, this was about 2 years before the end of Reagan's presidency, just when you had glasnost and perestroika, when the Soviet Union began to open up under Gorbachev due to the pressure that Reagan exerted on them. And my grandfather, the last time I saw him before he passed away, I knew he was going to die because that was the time. He was a strong man. He was a proud man. He never cried. But when I said bye to him at the airport, I could see tears in his eyes. And he said to me, and I'll never forget this, he said, communism is about to fall. Do not forget the horrors of communism. Do not forget how lucky you are to be in the new world. And from that moment on, in my house, we never were allowed to say a bad word against Ronald Reagan. Because to me, Ronald Reagan was America. And yet now, in the year 2009, with Reagan dead and his revolution long buried, with America now turning towards socialism, I ask myself, was that all a dream? When I was living through the 1980s and I saw America walking tall and proud and standing towering above the nations of the world, free, defiant, standing up against communism, proud of its heritage, proud of its founding fathers, proud of its constitutional republic, with a president that embodied the greatest values in American society. Was that all just a dream? Did that really happen? Or was that just something I've been thinking of in the middle of the night as I lay awake worrying about this country's future? Michael, we now face, I believe, the seminal challenge of our generation. Will we stand up to the forces of the culture of death? Will we stand up to the liberals at home who want to destroy the family, who want to have open borders and destroy our country and our culture, who want to bury us in mountains of debt, who want to tax us and tax us and tax us until they drive this economy into the ground? This is the challenge that we conservatives have to face. And I believe, Michael, with all of my heart and soul, that if we conservatives draw on the deep reservoirs of character and faith and family that still exist in this country, we will triumph. Because in the end, we are right and the liberals are wrong. And the next 4 years will show that to the American people, and they will show it beyond a doubt. I am Jeff Kuhner with his weekly special report for the Savage Nation. Thanks, Michael. Back to you.
Thanks, Jeff. We need to keep our eyes open to what's going on here. I'll be right back. It's the Savage Nation.